Welcome back, everybody. We are here with our episode 4 of Ahsoka breakdown, recap, all that good stuff. We have got a series on our hand. We have Jared here today, our resident Star Wars expert, and we're going to need him for this one because we've been taken for a ride this series. It's getting intense, it's getting crazy, and really all I can say is that we're so back as Star Wars fans. We are so back. We're getting the content we've been waiting for so long. It's amazing to see. We were both saying how on the edge of our seat we were. This is just awesome. Like I don't know if you're a Star Wars fan, how you can not be in like an amazing mood these last 2 days with what we've been seeing from Ahsoka. It's putting our worries to bed. Dave Filoni is showing that he is like he's Himothy. Like he's just him when it comes to this Star Wars stuff. He's Lucas's protege, and he's the guy that we can in fact put our faith in to really take this franchise forward in the direction that the fans will like, and not what we've been getting the past 2 years. But as happy as I am, and as much as I can sit here and rave about how amazing it is, let's just get straight into this episode. We have so much to talk about today. So many good theories, predictions. Um, Jared, what were your general thoughts on the episode? Like I said, we both were pretty happy about it, but more specifically, just what were your general thoughts? Your biggest takeaways? How are you feeling right now?
I'm gonna get into spoilers real quickly
Oh wow,
because I mean, if you have not seen this episode, go see it for yourself. It's fantastic. I really enjoyed it, but here's your spoiler warning. All right, even without Anakin in this episode, this was extremely compelling. I enjoyed watching every minute of it. I mean, overall, it was great. I have a couple of thoughts. I really hope Merrick isn't done with. I know we were discussing that the other day. Maybe we made a side character out to be a little bit too much.
yeah,
Maybe we
I think so.
overestimated, yeah, maybe we overestimated the importance that they're going to have in the story. But there was just a couple of things we were seeing that was maybe pointing towards, a larger role, like how they refused to make him talk till like the last episode and he like garbled, and then we saw the green Night Sister smoke popping out of him after Ahsoka cut him down. I still feel like there is something that they could do with that if they're interested or if it like makes sense for the story, but I have mixed thoughts about it. I mean, on the
Yeah,
one hand, if he's out of the story, he's out of the story, but if
it is
they
what it
still have
is.
something cool to do with him, I would like that because I mean, it was pretty cool. He was pretty cool,
He
man.
was. He definitely was like a sick character
Yeah.
at the start.
Um, Another weird thing that I saw was I didn't notice this at all until this episode, but when seeing that Sabine has a green lightsaber, I was a little confused because green lightsabers are usually given to like Jedi Masters, those proficient in the Force, and
Well, we had
Sabine
that
has,
explained to us though.
did we?
Oh, it's Ezra's saber that she took
That's her
because he
saber.
was not using his saber in Rebels finale.
There we
Because
go.
yeah, so she got his saber when before he disappeared, and Hu Yang said she put some modifications on it, so now it's technically hers. But I hate that storyline. If Ezra comes back, put a saber in his hand because you're gonna need it. So
Yeah. Well, that puts that to bed. So I thought, in my opinion, yeah, it was great to see Anakin, but we didn't really get that much. So in this episode, my favorite part was Sabine's interactions with Balin. Watching Balin kind of like, I mean, he seems like an honest dude, but he is kind of twisting. You know,
well, he's smart. He's
he
incredibly
is
smart.
smart, and he's being pretty clever about this. I mean, that was an insane scene. I really didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if
No, I
she
was
was
on the
going to
edge.
shoot the map. Yeah,
I knew
I
she
didn't know.
wouldn't shoot it. Something was just telling me that like he could the second he called her bluff on shoot it, like he didn't care because I think he knew. I feel like we in our heart of hearts knew she was not going to shoot that because she's not
At
giving
the
up on the
end,
chance to see Ezra.
and at
And
the end of the
obviously we
day, the
know that
plot has to go
Thrawn
on.
comes in somehow because of the trailer. So that
I
was
had no idea like if
just
Ahsoka was going to explode out of the water and like do something
yes. I was
nuts.
expecting him to get stabbed. I thought she was gonna like climb back up and Balin was
Yeah,
gonna get caught, not looking.
man, that was just a really well written scene. I mean,
Agreed.
Sabine was really backed into a corner, and she didn't really have a choice. And then Shin pulled up, and was being all petty because,
Their rivalry
Sabine,
is
yeah,
amazing to see.
it's
I've
pretty
loved
cool.
watching them go at it because Shin wins every round. Like she's kicking her ass, and whether one way or another, Sabine managed to get bailed out each time. But Shin wants the finish. She keeps, for our MMA and boxing people, she keeps getting the knockdowns, but she wants the finish. And something comes up each time. She keeps getting saved by the bell, but Shin wants that finish on Sabine, and we'll see if she gets it or not.
Once heard that. But that's my impression of the episode. It was really good. Hu Yang did some cool stuff. I'm really liking that character a
Me
lot, and I
too.
think it's pretty cool that David
Apparently, he
Tennant
has
voices him.
lightsabers that he could have used and chose not to.
Which ones? Those little ones that like he was training with Sabine?
I'm not sure, but I remember I was just watching breakdowns on YouTube after, and I guess his character, because he was in the Clone Wars for a brief arc, he does hold training sabers that could have been used, and he has 4 arms also. So, uh, but it was cool to see that he's obviously a mobile droid instead of just your standard C-3PO type.
Yeah. And then the brief moments that we had with Hera and Jason were pretty cool.
And you
But
see Jason's
overall,
sports ability start to show because he says the famous Star Wars line, "I have a bad feeling about this." But it just shows that he is able to feel, and obviously your dad's Kanan. We assume you're gonna be force sensitive, but he is showing the clear instinct that there's a little more to him than meets the eye, and we'll hopefully see more of him down the line.
when I heard that line, I knew we were in for it, man.
Oh
That
yeah,
was
it
that was really cool.
was.
But that's my impression of the episode. Very positive. What did you think?
Yeah, I agree. I only positive takeaways. If I really wanted to get nitpicky, I could, but it would be hard. This is honestly the first time I can say it would be hard for me to even nitpick an episode. Obviously they have to this is been the foundational episode for the next the back half of this series, so we'll see how they execute everything they've built up, and then we can really come away and be like, wow. But for now, I'm so impressed. I'm amazed. This episode had me on the edge of my seat the entire time. Balin is such a cool character. I'm really beginning to just love his character. He's showing each episode we're seeing just how powerful this guy is. He's not just your standard mid-level Jedi who walked away. Like he will go toe to toe with anybody, and it will come out on top a good amount of the times. He went toe to toe with Ahsoka, and he won. We have to be real about that. We know it's Ahsoka's show, and she's the main character, but Balin won that fight. I think you can attest to that, right? I would say he won. Obviously knocking her off. Um, I saw a lot of stuff about it. He switched. He uses a very heavy lightsaber setting, so that his swings are heavier. If you notice, he's going full through on the swings. It feels like he's putting everything into every swing. And it's an aggressive but a heavy and effective style, and that's why Ahsoka was getting pushed back so far with every hit. I love Shin's character. Her and Sabine, like we just said, have a crazy rivalry. Hu Yang was great. Interesting with Maroc, you're right. I think we just made too much of a side character, and now he all looks silly, unless he comes back. But I'd like at least an explanation. I know me and you were talking about that the other day. But everything was great. The fight scene was amazing. The choreography was good. It felt very prequels esque, and I liked it. I liked the episode. I love where we're gonna go from here. And I'm left with questions, of course, but that's what a good episode should do. It should leave me with the good kind of questions that are going to get answered going forward. Anything else you want to add before we get into our recap?
Yeah, something else I noticed. Well, I mean, first of all, I really thought that dome fight with the little hollow map surrounding them as they duel looked really nice.
Yeah,
That
no,
was a
that was
great
very
scene.
appealing to the eye.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And then Balin knows a lot. He knows a lot of
He
things
does. He's a
that,
smart guy. He's incredibly
yeah.
powerful. His mind tricks are incredibly this is a real legit villain. He's got a lot to him.
Well, not just like he knows about Anakin, which isn't surprising because, like he
Only a
said,
few people do
everyone,
though. So we have to wonder how he knows about that
yeah. Well,
because
he
only
knows about
only a
Vader, but he
handful.
also
Yeah,
knew Anakin like during
the
the
conflict.
Prime, but he
Yeah.
knew about Sabine and Ezra. He just knows shit that,
And I'm assuming he's reading Sabine's mind, or at least he's well informed that Ezra was also there with Thrawn. Just to know the things he knows, and to know he got straight into Ahsoka's head, taunted her, and it worked. He made her act out of anger, and that's how he won the fight. He took advantage after she started acting out of anger because he hit every spot that he wanted to hit with his mind games, blaming Ahsoka for her deepest. That's what she holds. Those are the grudges she holds. is that she feels responsible for Anakin's turn to the dark side because she feels like she abandoned him, and if she was there, everything would have gone different. And Balin read that like that, picked up on it, attacked her with it, and just won the mind games in an instant. Like this is a powerful character that I was not expecting to see.
Absolutely. He's got the upper hand when it comes to, it seems emotions, feelings. Maybe he was reading Sabine's, thoughts and how she feels about everything. But really powerful dude, really smart dude. I cannot wait to learn more about him. Hopefully we get a flashback with him sometime soon.
Yeah, agreed. That would be nice to see.
It would also be kind of cool to keep him ambiguous. So it's either
I
way would
know,
be
but I
great.
feel like, well, just because of, and it's so unfortunate with the actor passing away. I feel like we probably, even without him passing away, I feel like we're not going to see more Balin after the season. Just you can only have so many villains roaming around. One of them's got to go. So I feel like one way or another he'll meet his demise. I do want at least an explanation of his origins and how he came to this point.
Agreed.
Yeah. Well, with all that being said, we'll just give a brief recap of the episode before we get into our theories and our predictions going forward. Basically, we're on the same planet. We're on the floor of where we were last time. They're hidden in the forest. It starts with Hu Yang. Not a lot of talking in the opening scene, which was kind of cool. It was like mysterious, it was ominous. You could tell something was about to happen. But it felt like Empire Strikes Back when they're in the crater on the meteor and they like didn't know they're inside the mouth where he's outside the ship working and you start hearing the rumblings. I felt very taken back to that scene from Empire Strikes Back during the opening part. He's working, and they got found pretty quick. Like as soon as Balin's people started searching the forest, like they found him. So I guess it wasn't a great hiding spot. Hu Yang gets into a fight. They go at it. He manages to, by breaking the ship, alert Sabine and Ahsoka that something's going on because she immediately knows he would never do that, unintentionally. So they go down there. They kick some butt. They start making their way through the forest, and of course, Hu Yang's got to highlight, stay together. You guys are always better together. They meet up with Marak and Shin Hati, and it's round two. It's the face off for both of them. I think Ahsoka kind of knew she had Marak like handled the whole time, but Shin and Sabine, that's the rivalry. Like we just said, Shin wins again in my opinion. Knocks her down, uses a nice elbow right straight out of her mixed martial arts classes, and Ahsoka and Marak go at it, and she does. Not only does she do Anakin's stance from Attack of the Clones, you remember with the lightsaber over the head before he started fighting Dooku? Do you remember that scene?
Yeah. And then he
Yes, I
rushed
thought
in.
that was
Yeah.
an awesome callback
Nice.
right there. But then she also does the little slice through on the rotating double blade, which felt like, I don't know if you watched the end of Rebels, but when Kenobi kills Maul at the end of Rebels, that little slice through the chest, waits patiently for him to attack, and just one cut, it's over. So there's so many great callbacks in this fight scene that I was just so happy to see. I felt like every 5 seconds I was pointing out a reference to another point in time in the timeline, and it was just awesome to see that many Easter eggs hidden in there in such small ways. Because it feels like we've gotten so many callbacks to like the Phantom Menace, now to the Attack of the Clones, so many callbacks to the prequels, and it's just so awesome to see. But after this fight scene, they make their way to the map. Ahsoka knows that, and Sabine knows that they at this point it's too late. They kind of just have to destroy the map because you're not just gonna take it for yourself, unlock it, and go get Ezra. Like you're just gonna have to destroy it and see what happens. Ahsoka gets into a fight with Balin because, and when Shin Hati appears, I think Ahsoka immediately that also triggered the anger. I didn't mention that before. I blanked. But when Balin is, so it's a combination of Balin getting in her head and seeing Shin Hati return and not Sabine. So in her head, she has to be thinking, does that mean Sabine's dead? Because the two are fighting, only one came back. Don't you think that might have played a part in it too? Why she
Absolutely. You
started
could see it
fighting
on
out of
her
anger.
face.
Yeah, like you can see the immediate. She says it. She picks Shin up, throws her into the rock, and it was again. It feels like an Easter egg after Easter egg. I can't even tell if that's supposed to reference Revenge of the Sith when Kenobi gets picked up and thrown into the I don't know what you call it, the deck part of the ship, or an Attack of the Clones when Anakin gets thrown onto the rocks. Like everything just feels like a callback to something. But she picks her up, knocks Shin unconscious, fights Balin, um, ultimately loses the fight and gets thrown off or pushed off the edge, much to Sabine's chagrin when she returns. Sabine can't destroy the map, hands it over to Balin after he gets in her head, and then is taken into custody. Nice to see that Balin kept his word and they go onto Thrawn's ship and get ready for takeoff after the coordinates are taken. But note that the map was, or something was burned into Ahsoka's hand, so I think that's gonna play a part in it. Is that like, how are we gonna find Ezra? Oh wait, I have the map burned into my hand because I tried to pick it up off the thing. So sneaky little observation there. I feel like could be important down the line. And then at the end, Hera and some New Republic, they go AWOL. They try to help. What's his name? Carlos something. The guy who keeps making these cameos and all the New Republic stuff.
Oh man, I don't know.
But he appears with Hera and a squadron as they try and stop, but they don't even get the chance to shoot. I mean, the ring goes right through them, launches into
Carson
hyperspace.
Teva.
Carson Tavern, right? And the explosion from this giant ring going into hyperspace is so massive that it destroys almost the entire squadron, except for, of course, the characters with names in the scene. Who could have possibly seen that one coming? And they're just kind of left stranded in shock. And you see Jason say, "I have a bad feeling about this," because I think he senses some shit's about to go down. And we pan back to Sabine on the ship, and she meets Morgan Elsbeth. She's there in handcuffs. As they get ready to meet Thrawn, they get ready to go on their journey to find Thrawn. And then we pan to the world between worlds, which is awesome to see in live action. I'm super interested to see where they go with this. And Ahsoka kind of wakes up, she gains consciousness, and she's lying. And then she hears a call to her, Snips, and only one person calls her Snips. And we turn around and we finally get Hayden Christensen staring at Ahsoka in live action, and it was just a beautiful moment for all Star Wars fans. And then we cut to the credits, and that's basically a recap of the episode. Jared, anything you want to add to that recap that I missed?
No, that about does it.
And it's just awesome. It leaves us with so many questions and theories to formulate. And I think that's what we're going to do now is we're just going to discuss some of these theories that came from this episode. Because, gosh, I've spent so much time just thinking about what could happen. Where are we going to go with this? What's going to happen now? And how is it going to be done? So I'm excited. I really am. Like, this has been awesome. We have so many possibilities of where we can go from here. Are there any theories that you want to highlight before I give some of mine? Just some stuff that you may have seen on the internet or some stuff that you think could be going on personally?
Yeah, I know you brought up the world between worlds, which
Yeah.
is probably where this is going, but I've seen a lot of people speculating that this might have something to do with Eden from the Clone Wars.
Yeah, so
That would
I
be
was going to
pretty
talk about that.
interesting. Yeah, I've seen people say that I don't agree with this, but they think that Anakin's appearance
Is
is
the
just
son
an
of Mortis?
illusion. Yeah, and
Yes,
he's
that's what
presented by the
I was
sun.
gonna say that one. But I was gonna write it off, and I'll talk about it in a sec because there's some things I'm gonna point out about it. But what I will say is that when in episode 1 when she's feeling out the map and we hear the voice, or she's feeling out the thing to get the map, and we hear the voice in the background saying like he is the chosen one. I don't know who do you think that was? Who do you think that voice was at first?
Well, it'd be Qui-Gon, no? I mean, he was the one who said that.
No, it was Qui-Gon.
Oh, okay, well then I'm just gonna fuck myself then.
I don't. Well, maybe we're talking about different voices, but I know it was credited to Sam Witwer, the voice credits for that episode, because obviously Maroc wasn't in it, so he got um, voice credits, and so people just assumed it was Maul. But what I was watching a video on this yesterday. When you do the lineups of the voice from the Son of Mortis, who's also Sam Witwer, compared to the scene from episode 1, it's like identical. So if that is the Son of Mortis talking to her now, because we know that Ahsoka was brought back to life by the daughter of Mortis, they're connected. She's basically immortal now, and I know that a lot of people have been bringing this to my attention, and I'm just now realizing that she is. She's basically immortal from getting brought back to life. That's why she has the guardian owl that's always above her at all times, and it's why her and the sun are to a certain extent linked. So I think it's actually a totally reasonable theory to jump to that this could be the Son of Mortis. And I'll let you finish before I give the other reasons, because there was just interesting stuff that kept getting pointed out to me.
Yeah, I think that would be absolutely nuts. Like beyond
Valid at
my
the same time. Like,
expectation.
it's not
Yeah,
anything
absolutely.
too crazy. Like, it's not like a cameo I'd be mad about. It's completely valid for this to be here.
Yeah, that Sam Witwer stuff kind of throws the whole Galen Merrick idea out the window, but I mean, watching Merrick in this episode get cut down anyways also threw that out the window.
He just does so many voices. It's impossible to
Yeah,
tell who he's being credited for.
which is kind of cool, you know, because then we can't immediately
Right,
just
exactly. We can't just
snap to
assume
who.
that he's doing the whole
Yeah, so that was kind of cool. It would have been nice to see both Anakin and Vader's apprentices fight each other, but whatever.
I know.
Another time.
We can only get so much.
Yeah. Those are the only real theories that I've been engaging with. What do you have for us?
Well, just to stay on that Son of Mortis thing for a second, because I think it's so compelling to me. Like, why would he be here? But it's totally reasonable for him to be here. Like, this is a huge deal on the dark side of the Force. Obviously, these two are intertwined, and we remember that he's alive because in Rebels in the finale, when Ezra's in the temple, and he's not the finale, but close to it, when he's opening the world between worlds, um, on the wall we see like the painting of the sun, like it moves. It has, to a certain extent, a conscious. So his presence is still definitely felt. But what really stood out to me, and this was pointed out to me in other videos that I was doing my research on, what would this embodiment of Anakin be in the world between worlds? Because you just can't freely wander it, right? Like there's not like when we pan to the world between worlds, it's just people walking around, right? So how would he have gotten to that situation in the first place where he could be standing in front of Ahsoka? What do you think?
I think it's an illusion put forth. I mean,
By who though? Just
the
like,
sun, perhaps. I don't know.
yeah,
I mean, it seems like, I mean, we know he's kind of devious. We know he's out there, as you just described.
yeah,
But I also think that they'll explain it away in the
I
next
think so too.
episode.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So we could both be wrong, and it could just be like, yeah, man, no, I'm just real good in the Force, so I
Yeah, I
pulled up
mean, it
here.
could be.
Yeah, and maybe that's where Force ghosts are when they're not manifesting into our actual world.
That's what I was gonna say because
Yeah.
we do know that the Force ghosts like do exist in a realm outside of when they appear. Like they are physical to a certain extent, but this version of Anakin that we're looking at isn't the Anakin that appears when we see his Force ghost at the end of Return of the Jedi with Hayden Christensen, not obviously the original one where it's like the random old guy that we don't know. But like when it's Hayden Christensen's Force ghost, and the biggest giveaway is the hand. Like he has the robotic covering on his hand right now when we see him in Ahsoka. But by the time he appears as a Force ghost, um, he has nothing. He was all regular hands, like all everything was good. So I looked at that and I was like, well, that maybe is a giveaway, or they just left the hand on there and said screw it, like we'll just leave the hand on. And then just like the fact that he just looked, I don't know, and like the Jedi robes, like when we saw Yoda and we saw Kenobi, like they weren't in the robes that they wore every day. They were just in like a standard set. But stuff like that, it was mostly the hand that stood out to me. I was like, if he was a Force ghost, why don't you look like the version of the Force ghost we've seen? Can you like take your hand thing off and put it back on? Maybe. But that was what stood out to me when I
It
think
could
about.
also be Ahsoka manifesting Anakin the way that she knew him during
That's
the
true.
Clone
Yeah,
Wars.
that's true. So I think there's validity to that too. Yeah, I may it could just be a Force ghost. It could just be her imagination. She could just be in La La Land to a certain extent. But seeing Anakin in the World of Worlds isn't like what's crazy to me. But the fact that he's like out roaming the general park, because it has to be an illusion. Because if you're already roaming right there, why aren't you just jumping into different time holes and right? Like, can you just be jumping into different times and doing whatever you want to do? Like if you're already so that's what makes me think that it has to be to a certain extent her imagination.
I'm sure we'll see that play out really, really soon.
Yeah, I'm super
I
intrigued to
don't
see
think they're
that.
going to wait to explain that.
And then not as much as a theory, just as much of a question. I guess this would technically be part of our prediction segment. I do want to ask, how do you think Ahsoka gets back to the real world? Because obviously we're not going to kill Ahsoka off 4 episodes into her show where she is the main character of it. That would be a
That just wouldn't even happen.
that's that would make me take everything I said in the first part of this episode back. Um,
Maybe she'll only be allowed to leave after she, like, I don't know, learns some kind of valuable lesson.
or do you
Maybe
think
that could be
time
setting her up
jumps
for a
maybe like
character
someone
arc.
pulls her out?
I don't know. I mean, who could pull her out, though?
Exactly. Like Ezra's the only one who's ever gained access to the like world between worlds. Not even Palpatine could get in there.
Yeah.
So
So maybe we find out. Maybe that's how Ezra gets introduced this season is in the
yeah,
world
yeah,
between
that'd be
worlds.
cool because I am interested to see how Ezra comes to form? Because like, what if like when we see him, I'm just curious because we know Thrawn is okay. We see him in the trailer. So what happens to Ezra? Like, is he just being held captive? Did he flee? I am interested to see that. It would be a total letdown if we get there and Ezra is just dead. Like he'd just been dead. We don't even see him on screen. Like they just tell us he died.
I don't think they would do that.
That would suck.
That would
Um,
suck.
that would really suck. But as far as theories go, like those are all my biggest ones. Actually, it's something about Balin, not even pertaining to this episode in particular. Balin seems to know like a lot about Ahsoka and Anakin, just the Jedi in general. Um, I saw people pushing around the theory that his master was Plo Koon.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
What's the justification for it? I don't think it's wrong. I just
Um,
want to know like what people are saying about
there
it.
was definitely more to it than I'm able to reiterate off the top of my head. But a lot of it was connecting the orange lightsabers, and people are saying that he just had it the whole time. And that the only other person we've ever seen in like legit legends and canon, or mostly canon, wield the yellow to orange lightsaber was Plo Koon back in like some old video game. As people are just kind of connecting that, and just the knowledge of Ahsoka, obviously the connection and the feeling bad for her because we know how close Plo Koon and Ahsoka were, and just someone who's more unconventional and sympathetic like Plo Koon was, as well as just the extensive knowledge of like knowing what to do should something have ever happened. Uh, I'll get more like on it and send it to you probably off the episode, but it was a theory that I saw pushed around that his master was Plo Koon, and of course the timelines match up on it.
Wilkun has trained a lot of uh, apprentices as well. He's pretty
Yeah.
old, I think about like 400 maybe.
Oh, okay.
So
That's
yeah, that would
I didn't know
absolutely
that.
be in line with timeline wise, as well as Plo Koon's like, yeah, he trains a lot of people.
Yeah, so I mean that was an interesting one. That was I mean I definitely have more theories, but we'll have to spread our theories out throughout the rest of the season too as we keep talking about them. But is there anything else you want to add to that? Like anything else in the World Between Worlds, Son of Mortis? Um, anything there?
No, that about does it. That's most of my thoughts on the episode.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued with everything with the World Between Worlds. I know coming into this, I saw some crazy like rumors slash leaks of stuff that could happen in the World Between Worlds, and look, I won't spoil anything for you because I don't even think it's a spoiler. I don't think it's gonna happen. It seems too crazy to happen. But if stuff that was being rumored to happen take place in the World Between Worlds happens, I mean, man, we're in for a heck of a last 4 episodes with some crazy shit. I guess one more thing I will say before we move to our predictions is what do you think about the lack of Luke? Like, is it just like not time yet? Because we know the not the business reason, but the real life reason why we haven't seen as much Luke. But like an in universe reason, I feel like we need a legit one because like shit's getting pretty serious here, and I feel like we might need a little help from a powerful guy pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to complain about it. I don't think
Yeah,
Luke really belongs in this story. You
maybe
could
not this
just
specific
explain it.
story, but he definitely belongs in the heir to the Empire arc overall. I believe.
Sure, yeah. You could explain it by saying like he's having his Padawan, training operation up and running, and he doesn't just want to abandon that, and
That's
that's
kind of
fair
what
enough.
they're using as the
Yeah.
excuse.
So, I mean, I think that's a pretty good reason, to be honest.
Mhm. Yeah. In reality, I mean, we know that like the real life reasons is just because they've been trying to perfect the whole deep de-aging thing. Like they've been testing it
Yeah.
because it's been easier with Hayden when the actor is relatively close to the age. It's not as hard to de-age him. I think they've done great on Hayden Christensen's
Yeah, he
de-aging, by
looked
the
good.
way. But like they've obviously been testing Luke's, and that's why he's been getting like small cameos here and there, like Book of Boba Fett, Mandalorian. I thought the last one we saw in the Mandalorian was much better. Or no, sorry, I guess it was Book of Boba Fett that came after, right? Yeah, after the book. So I think his was much better. In Mandalorian 2.5. Um, and so I think they're just perfecting it, and then they'll bring him back when he's ready, when they've got the technology down, because obviously we're gonna need him at some point, and he does play a part in this arc overall. So I'll be interested to see that. But I can live with the in universe excuse for now. But once Thrawn's back, like that feels pretty legit. Like we might need some help from a few Jedi Padawans and Luke.
Or maybe some old clone captains.
I know. I want to see that. I'm really hoping. It makes so much sense. Bring them in. We need all the help. But with that being said, we'll move straight into our predictions. We'll just go for next week specifically. We won't go for the rest of the series just yet. Jared, give me some predictions for next week's episode because boy, is there a lot of avenues this can go.
I don't I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do. I think it would make sense to have one isolated episode just happening, in a bubble from everything else of Ahsoka figuring it all out. And then at the very end of the episode, she comes back to everything. I think that's possible. I think it's
Yeah.
possible we cut back between her and maybe Sabine learning more information about Balin and Morgan Elsbeth. And then we see a little bit from Hera. But I think the likely route is I'm gonna be optimistic. I'm gonna say we're gonna get the whole episode with her and Hayden Christensen
Do
as
you think
Anakin
we're getting a
Skywalker.
long episode? This was a good runtime. 40 minutes. I can live with that. Um, do you think we're getting a longer one, or is this going to be one of those low 30-minute
I think
episodes?
it'll be a low 30-minute episode of just her and Hayden Christensen working it out,
I wouldn't
Ahsoka
be
and
opposed to
Anakin.
that. I really
Neither
wouldn't.
would I. I think if they drag it on for too long, it might kind of take away from everything because if you just keep pulling it on and on, I mean, there's only so much they can do, In this episode, they got a lot done with 40 minutes, and
No, they
I just
did. That
don't,
was a long 40
yeah,
minutes. I agree.
and I don't think they need that same runtime to
I
have
not
Anakin
for
and
this episode,
Ahsoka.
but I think for the last three we need long episodes because there's a lot to do
Oh yeah, there's a
in
lot to
kind of
do. We have
closing
a lot
down on
of
them.
boxes to check, but in my eyes, the next episode, a perfect next episode, is a half an hour Anakin and Ahsoka, special, where they're just kind of maybe if we're lucky, we'll see like some flashbacks between like Clone
Obi
Wars
Wan.
battles. That would be amazing,
Yes, I
getting to
would.
see some of that, and just watching them kind of relive stuff,
Making
have
Ahsoka
Ahsoka
look
think
younger
about
too.
things.
I'd be interested to see how they work with that kind of CGI because you'd have to make her look like she did in the Clone Wars to do a flashback like that. And I would be interested to see how they make that work.
So would I. But that's my dream episode six,
Five.
five.
I agree though. I mean, I think you know me, I'm a fan of the longer run times, especially when we have these condensed seasons. But I agree if we're just doing a solo episode of just Hayden and Ahsoka talking it out, living some flashbacks, viewing alternate realities, 100%. Do a low 30-minute episode of just them doing it. At the end, Ahsoka gets some clarity, somehow finds her way back to real life. I'm good. That's a good episode in my book. Um, I don't know though. I kind of agree. I see where you're going. Like I feel like there's a possibility that we just get a 30-minute, flashback fest, which I mean, that's a dream for some of us. Is a 30-minute flashback fest, but I feel like because I feel if you pan to Balin and Morgan and all of them, how long can you be in in hyperspace really? Because I don't think they're gonna reveal Thrawn just yet, and I don't think they're gonna open that box at the moment. I think that's gonna be like an episode 6 to 8 kind of thing.
Well, I
Um,
think they actually can spend a pretty good amount of time in hyperspace,
do you think so? I
considering
mean, I guess you are moving
absolutely they're
galaxy.
traveling
Yeah,
to
you're
another
moving.
galaxy.
Okay, I just mean like,
We've
what are you
seen,
gonna be
yeah,
doing? Like what are we gonna be
yeah.
doing
Well,
in
we
this?
might not cut back
That's
to
what
them
I've
that
been worrying
much.
to. Not much to like actually spending
Yeah.
time. But yeah, like I mean, is it just dialogue? Like I guess I can do a minute or two of that, but I don't want a whole episode of just Morgan, Elsbeth, Sabine back and forth.
Well, I
Um,
think we also might be able to get a few moments of Balin, like him thinking about things, feeling different things.
him and
You
Shin
know,
starting to disagree a little bit. I think we're gonna get closer to seeing which one of us was right about who betrays who. Um, but yeah, I think next episode there's just so many routes to go down. I guess a little bit of dialogue wouldn't hurt, with the whole ship thing. An interesting route, a possibility of panning to Thrawn and Ezra in the other galaxy before they get there. I think that would be cool. Just see what they're up to. But I don't think they'll do that. I think they'll wait until they get there to reveal them. But yeah, I just want to see the flashbacks. I know I'm not going to say anything rumor wise about what they could be seeing in the flashbacks that I've heard about. I'm just gonna leave it all up to seeing what happens next week and going forward. I would love to see the flashbacks, man. I really would. The Clone Wars flashbacks. I feel like for as much as I hate filler episodes and stuff dragging, just because we've never seen this before and this is such a big moment to see these two live action together, they can talk for 30 minutes. I don't care. Drag out a whole long episode of just the two of them talking. I'll sit
I
through it.
want to see, I want to see Anakin with his Clone Wars armor. That would make me
That'd be sick.
giddy.
So I mean, there's a lot of ways that they can go with it. I agree. I think that's totally a good episode in my book too. Is just the two of them talking the whole time. If I had to like, if I lay down a certain prediction, I think what's gonna happen. I think we're gonna pan back and forth between New Republic politics because Hera's gonna be saying like, this is fucking happening. Like they left the system. They're going to get thrown. She's gonna be screaming for help. I think we're gonna be panning back and forth between that and Ahsoka and Hayden doing their flashbacks. I don't think we're gonna get much of the ship and Thrawn in this episode. Maybe at the very end. Um, but yeah, if I'm laying down a certain prediction, I think that's what's happening. I think we're getting flashbacks finally, and I think we're getting Hera screaming for help to the New Republic.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think is gonna happen with the New Republic's involvement in this? What role does Hera play in these next 3 to 4 episodes going forward?
I think the New Republic is going to kind of play the role of the fool,
I think so
I mean,
too,
as
because
they've
they
been
gotta go
doing
down,
already.
and it's just like we're getting every like I obviously you have to make them look stupid because they eventually lose. But I mean, man, they've just really they've made them all look like just complete idiots.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, we haven't seen Thrawn's involvement in the First Order. We know the First Order, is
Exactly.
the
Yeah, agreed.
successor.
Agreed. I
So
don't.
we could actually see Thrawn losing pretty hard right here, and maybe that's in part to the New Republic, or maybe that's just completely separate of them. But either way, I mean, Hera does play a pretty important role because she's got Jason, she's got the Ghost, the Phantom,
Hopefully,
you know,
Zeb.
hopefully Zeb.
Uh,
I mean, we haven't seen anything on that yet. We saw that
I
one,
thought we
you
were gonna
know,
see him when all the starships went to go.
yeah,
That was a perfect spot to throw him in. There has to be something more to it as to why we're not seeing him. So there has to be more to it.
yeah. Well, we'll see,
Yeah.
but I think Hera will play a pretty big role. Maybe she'll gather a pretty big fleet. Maybe she'll say to the New Republic, look, you know, the people in power here don't want to do anything, but if you want to do something as a soldier, get in a ship and let's go kick, Thrawn's ass. That'd be pretty cool. Because that definitely fits, Hera's leader role.
Yeah,
I'd like
agreed.
to see that a lot. But that's what I think. That's about it. I think she'll be kind of important for the end.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, there's so much going on, so much to do. There's an interesting point you bring up about like the first order that Thrawn has to lose at some point and has to lose but in a way that someone can come after him and win. So I'm interested to see how that works. Obviously, we know he's not gonna lose super hard at the end of this first season because there's more to the Ahsoka show to come, and there's the Heir to the Empire movie with Thrawn and all that stuff. So we know Thrawn sticks around past episode 8 of this season, which kind of makes me think. I know we're not going to go too far with our predictions and do anything too far in advance. But I kind of feel like we're getting the hints that whatever battle is fought at the end of this season, Thrawn's going to win because he has to stick around for a little while longer.
Ron could also just be slippery at the end, lose the battle, but piss off in
Well,
like an
worst case
escape pod or
scenario, we don't
whatever.
even get a battle and the season ends with his reveal. I think that would be the worst possible case scenario.
Absolutely.
But we'll save those predictions. Jared, is there anything you want to add before we wrap this episode up? We've been going for a while, but this is such a great episode that we kind of have to just cover all this because there's so much to cover.
This was a great episode. I had a wonderful time discussing it. That about wraps it up for me.
Yeah, me too. So, with that being said, we will see you all next week. Star Wars fans, we're in a great spot right now. So much anticipation for what happens next Tuesday night. I know I'll be waiting at 9 o'clock Eastern Time sharp. With that being said, I will see you all next time. Jared, it's been great having you. Thank you as always. I will see you next week. Everyone remember to like, subscribe, comment down below what videos you want. We're so close to 100. Let's please hit that mark. And I will see you next week. Thank you, everybody. Tune in. Lots of stuff coming soon.